I am going to enroll in Stanford University, and I'm super excited about that. Going into the process, I didn't know what I wanted, but as soon as I sat down and did the research and just looked into schools, I realized I thought throughout this whole time that Stanford was a perfect fit for me. I just loved everything about it. It checked all the boxes, and when I got in, I was like, I don't know. I remember I was over the moon. I was so happy. I'm really excited to just be there, sort of be in that environment with people who are passionate, excited to learn, and just interesting, fun people. And I think we're all there pretty much to do the same thing, to learn and have a good college experience. So I'm really excited for that at Stanford.
Yeah, and obviously the outcome was fantastic, so we're super happy about that. But what was helpful in the whole process with you, Anjali, was the review of other colleges and Kate's intellectual interests, academic interests, as well as other things to consider. And so the array of colleges that we had that Kate applied to, that was really helpful because, as we all know, I mean, it's a little bit of a lottery ticket these days. And we're super grateful that Kate got into her first choice. And I think her experience is going to be phenomenal. But it was also great to have other options that would have been awesome for her too, and to know that we bought the lottery ticket, which was great, and it paid off. But if it didn't, there were other options for her that would have been also really good. It was 35 years since my wife and I have applied ourselves, and so we knew we didn't know anything really about the current process. And so to have someone with tons of experience and insight, it allowed us to step back and really allow Kate's efforts to shine, which was really helpful.
I definitely appreciated your depth of knowledge. I felt like you have a very a very, very solid idea of the process, how it works, and I had zero clue at all. So I just really appreciated that you were there to sort of guide me through just, the whole process. And I was able to sort of rely on you for I think the spreadsheet was very helpful for me because that's how I organize things in my mind very well. And I think it was just helpful to have it all laid out, just see the exact steps I needed to take to finish the process. And it was also helpful to have you as a sounding board for essay ideas or essay structures, just stuff like that. It was really helpful for me because by nature, I'm a very slow writer, and that's my biggest struggle throughout this whole thing. So I think having deadlines, having a specific structure just helped me a lot, finishing my work and doing it well, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, and I think from a parent perspective, having one less thing to have to micromanage, and not that Kate required that, but I mean, the level of interaction that you had with Kate needed to occur certainly in the beginning, so she understood the process, the structure, and everything, and you guys got a good rhythm around that, and allowed us to step back and more focus on her cleaning her room and other things like that, which she does very well.
I just thought your process I think it's very well organized. I really did appreciate, I think the first thing that you did, I remember, was I think taking the time to get to know me, which I think that's fundamental in the college application process, is just showing who you are to the schools. So I thought the youth science stuff that we did, all that, those initial foundational steps, I think that especially was super helpful. And then of course, yeah, the structure of the process, I feel like you just have a very good handle on what to do. And so, yes, I would recommend you to other families.
Our dialogues back and forth were very useful to provide us insight along the way and reduce stress and that kind of thing.
Working with Anjali is very helpful. I think the expectations of her setup and program are very clear, which is super helpful. So you definitely start off at the baseline of the process, just sort of getting to know, or getting to write out, I guess, who you are and what makes you you and what your goals are and what you want from a school. And then building up from that with college research is just super helpful to know exactly what your options are and just know what you want. And then from there, it's the actual application, which is a lot of work. But I think breaking it down into steps and breaking it down into a very clear path to follow, which Anjali does very well, it just makes it a lot more manageable to deal with in those smaller steps than just trying to tackle it all at once. And just just following the program, just doing your work, it's just, If you do it the way she's structured it, you'll get everything done well and on time, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think also, from a parent perspective, your kid's young, they're still figuring out for themselves what they want to do or what they don't want to do. And this forced some of those discussions and thought processes, which was very helpful. And I think having an educated third party involved is super useful as well, because sometimes you've sort of covered this ground 2 or 3 years ago, but the world's changed quite a bit in your kid's life. And so to really force is the wrong word, but to have that be a part of the early part of the process to then sort of validate, okay, here's where I'm going, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. And then that the efforts that your child is putting in are going to be leveraged and not really a waste of time. So it's very easy, I think, to go down dark alleys. And I think somewhat difficult for a parent to prevent that unless you really dive deep into the process. And you have time to do that, hey, great. But for us, it was very important to bring in an experienced third party who could help along the way. And to see Anjali build the rapport with Kate as well was very comforting, because you want someone who's not just bringing expertise, but also fundamentally caring about your child, getting to know them, being able to interact with them, not in a sort of mechanical way, but more in a humanistic way, was very, very comforting. Our decision process in hiring a counselor, and specifically Anjali, really came down to where we really felt we could spend our time most effectively, and related to that, where we were willing to spend money to have someone with greater expertise come in and help. And so conceptually, that's where we're at. We found that the real return on investment came in, I think, the entire process, and Kate getting to understand more deeply what she wanted to do and potential avenues to do that in, and then translating that into a plan that then she could put the hard work into to get done. And this doesn't get outsourced in terms of, certainly not the applicant, your kid, but not from the parent either. And the interactions that we had, although not as frequent as you had with Kate, helped us stay in tune with it, ask educated questions, have a little back and forth. And so that was incredibly valuable as well. So I would say, one, to be completely honest, it's not cheap, but it is an inflection point in your kid's life. And for us, it was definitely worth the investment to go this route.